What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be doing a governor removal on this Baja Warrior mini bike. Starting things out, I got an array of tools I'm going to be using today. I got a 3-jaw puller, wire cutters, wrenches, sockets, ratchets, a 1/4-inch torque wrench, extensions, screwdrivers, wrenches, pliers and vice grips, Loctite, self-tapping bolt, and a razor blade, and some punches, a piece of coat hanger, and a hacksaw. So a couple of the reasons you're going to want to remove your governor is, especially if you have a bypass, because the governor wheel can explode inside the motor, and high RPMs basically trash your motor. Another reason is it helps with aftermarket mods to remove your governor. If you put an air filter and straight pipe on your motor, you're going to benefit a lot more if you remove your governor. And even though you can bypass the governor with a zip tie, it's still going to limit your RPMs compared to removing it altogether. So that's what we're going to do today. This bike right here is a Baja Warrior, the original model. It was green and black. Repainted this summer with rattle can. It's not the prettiest job. It's got some scratches and nicks, as you can see, but I ride this bike a lot and it just needed to be revived. It was really rusty and kind of ratty looking, so I repainted it and did some mods to it, and it's a whole new bike now. If you want, you can remove the motor first, but I'm going to start working on the motor now and then remove the motor later. The first thing you're going to want to do is drain your gas tank. This one's already empty, so I don't have to do that. We're going to remove the air filter now. Don't lose these nuts. These are some of the ones that come with these performance kits. They're lock nuts, so they actually hold a lot better. This motor appears to need a valve cover gasket or something really bad. It's leaking a lot of oil, and over here is where the motor was sitting over, and you can see the wet spot in the floor. Okay, we're gonna remove the spark plug. Damn, that breather tube is stuck in there. I think it's almost like melted to it. Melted to the inside of the valve cover. Oh, and we fucked the breather filter. Alright, I guess that's no-go. Maybe. It's starting to come out of the valve cover, but it's still pretty stuck. Alright, got it. Alright, now we're going to remove this little insulator plate for the carburetor and the gaskets. Be very careful with the gaskets. You don't want to damage them because a lot of the times they're still usable. And you don't want to damage them in case you don't got any extra ones on hand. See, I got plenty of these two gaskets right here, but out of these gaskets right here, the one that goes in between the little insulator piece and the intake port. Now, taking a look at this cable, there's no way I'm going to be able to get that back in. This cable is pretty much junk. And I don't know if I have another cable. So, I guess I'm shit out of luck on that one. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take off the stock throttle linkage. There's a 10mm bolt right here, and there's a 10mm over here. And right under the throttle linkage, you can see the spring that's still attached to the throttle arm. That's the one on the right. We already disconnected to the one from the carburetor, so now we're going to undo these two 10mm bolts and take that off, and then the spring, and then we can take the throttle linkage off. Holy shit. These are way over tightened. Almost spilled my coffee up here. And the next thing we're going to do now is we're going to get the 4 bolts for the flywheel shroud. Can't believe how old this damn thing is. It definitely needs the valve cover gasket bad. But then again, when your shit's 10 years old and you beat the fuck out of it constantly, stuff like that's going to happen every now and then. Hey, stop doing that. Leave the cable alone. You're crazy, bro. That's my tweaker cat. Okay, if you look right there in the process of removing the front shroud off the flywheel, that little ear for the flywheel cover broke off right there, so I don't really know what I'm going to do to fix that right now, but I'll get to it when the issue arises. See the governor spring right here. Okay, now we're gonna remove the gas tank of the motor. Alright, we got one more bolt for the gas tank to remove, which is right here. The other two were 10 millimeters, and this one's an 8 millimeter. My cat won't stop interfering with me working on this. Try to set it up like this so I don't drain gas everywhere. The more you tear these motors apart and you put them back together and you work on them and you troubleshoot them, the more you realize that these motors in general, they're not really too complex. You just gotta know what you're doing. These motors, pretty much anybody can learn how to work on these. They're so easy. Okay, the next thing we're gonna do is gonna remove these two. The throttle rod and this other spring. Come on, damn it. Ow. I got this burn on my thumb every time I hit something. It fucking hurts from one of the straight pipes on these. Okay, so we got the motor pretty much taken apart as much as we can before we can start going on the inside. But we do need to go to the other side of the motor and start taking the torque converter apart and get it off the motor. Okay, the first thing to do on this side is we're going to take the torque converter cover off, and there is 3 8mm bolts. Oops. Everything looks pretty well in here. That the belt looks pretty brand new. It's really wide. The cat won't shut up. Now we gotta take this rear pulley off as well. You can see right in here where the oil's been seeping all over the floor, coming down through here. Just moved the bike slightly a minute ago, but from just working on this bike, that's how much it dripped so far today. Jeez. What the fuck? This one's definitely got Loctite in this hole. Yep, you can see the Loctite coming out right there. stuck in there. You can see the little pieces of loctite from all of it fall out. Look at that, that's ridiculous. So you can tell by the length of the video already, I'm sure. I'm doing a full length one. I'm showing everything I'm doing. Everything I did do in this video. There's nothing that I cut out. I'm showing you everything there is to take the governor out of these motors. Your machine may not have a torque converter, it may not have the stage 1 kit. It may be a stack motor or a Briggs, like a flathead or anything, but the basic concept applies. Now we gotta remove the motor mount bolts. Pretty much all of them are a bunch of random sizes, so it's kind of annoying figuring out what's what. Come on. Now we can take the motor off the mini bike. Okay, so there's a couple more things I gotta do before I take this motor out to my other garage. This is the one that's up by my house. I got another one that's separate from the garage, and it's I gotta carry this right angle grinder out there because it's too late tonight to use a grinder to cut off part of the governor rod that's sticking out through the motor. I gotta do that. I'm gonna drain the oil still. Remove that arm. And that's pretty much it before I gotta take it out there. I also gotta take it out there because I need to get the flywheel nut off it, and I can't do it without an impact gun, so I'm gonna have to go out there and use that. And I'm also gonna have to take the three jaw puller out there because as soon as I take the flywheel off, well, no, I'm wrong. Never mind. Okay, I'm gonna stop overthinking it and just get back on it. Now we're gonna move the governor rod right here. It's got a bunch of different holes on it, so you can change which speed your motor is gonna be governed at. You can adjust it by putting the spring in the different hole, and then depending on which hole you put it on, will give you your speed at which your motor is governed. This is how big my hand is, and it's kind of funny how small these motors actually are once you take the gas tank on it and all the other stuff off. It's kind of funny. Alright, now I gotta set this motor up on this milk crate and start draining the oil out of it. I'm not going to remove the low oil sensor on it because I think that's important to have. You're not going to always check the oil every ride, so it's a good little protection. I never had a problem with it, with cutting the motor out, going over bumps, so I'm going to leave it in because it's not hurting anything. Okay, unfortunately my phone is pretty low in battery right now, so I'm going to take a little break, let my phone charge, and then I'll come back to this. Alright, I'm back. My phone's charged up now, and now we're going to take this bucket of goodies and we're going to head out to the garage. Sucked carrying that shit all the way out here. It's a good 50, 60 pounds, but isn't too bad, but carrying it all the way out here sucks. Alright, now I can actually talk like a normal person, now that we're out in the garage. Alright, here's the goodies we got. A grinder, we got a puller, we got an impact gun, and we got an engine. Okay, first things first, we gotta take the nut off the flywheel. Most of these small 6.5 horse column motors, they're usually a 19mm flywheel nut. Okay, so now we got the flywheel nut off. That's one of the things I need to come out here for. Now I'm gonna take the right angle grinder and we're gonna cut this governor rod flush with where it's coming out of. If you don't do that, the rod ain't gonna go all the way down and you're gonna hit part of the crank weights or you're gonna hit something. So you need to cut that off in order to remove that from the motor. Okay, so there's no way I'm going to be able to hold my phone and grind that off at the same time, so I'm going to grind that off real quick and I'll be right back. Okay, we just ground that off. You just seen a little bit of that smoke come off it. Or the burning oil, I should say. Ow, that's fucking hot. Alright. Look at all these metal shavings. They're all over the flywheel. I wonder if the gap's too short on it. So it appears so. So that's pretty much all we had to come out here for. I think I'm gonna pull the flywheel. I'm just gonna pull the flywheel pullers up there, and then I'll come back when I need to put the flywheel back on. Alright, now we're back in the garage, the other one. Okay, now we're back in the garage, so there's one thing I want to mention right there, is this is not the proper way to remove a flywheel. There's a proper tool to use this. It's recommended that you actually have a special tool. I don't, but I've done this like 3 or 4 times and other motors haven't had a problem with it, so I guess I'm going to keep doing it. Okay guys, we're back. After about 10 or so minutes trying to get this puller set up, I got it on now. The hard part is you got to be able to get the puller jaws in an area where you can actually get all 3 on, and you got to have the flywheel in the right position and this in the right position, and it's different on every flywheel. And one thing I noticed that is weird is I think this motor may have lost one of these magnets on the flywheel, because I remember a long time ago my sister was riding her mini bike, which is the red one that I actually painted, and the motor locked up for no reason, and she ended up crashing it. So I wonder if that had something to do with it, and this is the motor. Alright, here we go. It's kind of hard holding the phone and doing this at the same time, because the motor wants to tip over. Well, I can do it. I had to set the motor on the ground because it was not working on the milk crate. Alright, this ratchet is a little too short to do this one-handed, so I'm going to grab something a little bit longer. It's my 3/8 breaker bar, 18-inch, so this should be pretty easy now. Alright, the flywheel should pop now. This flywheel is pretty stubborn compared to the ones that I've done before. There we go. Yeah, she came off fast. Okay, so the flywheel was actually, I think it was a little bit of rust on there I was holding on, but she popped off pretty hard. Alright, now we're going to start loosening the bolts on the side cover and get ready to pull it off. Alright, after getting all those bolt holes out, you're going to want to wash your hands before you go inside the motor. You want to wipe everything down too, so you don't get any shit inside the motor, like dirt or debris or nothing. Alright, you're going to want to tilt your motor up a little bit. Like this, so when you take this cover off, sometimes the camshaft wants to come with it, so you're going to want to tilt it up and be very slow when you pull this cover off. One of the reasons I told you you're going to need a razor blade in the very beginning is once you begin to pull the side cover off, the gasket may be stuck to the block, so you're going to want to use this to put it in between there and try to save the gasket if you can. Give her a little tap on both sides. If you look in there, you can see where the gasket is trying to get stuck. So just work the razor blade in there, and then just peek down in there to make sure the gasket's not stuck. Oops, shit. Alright, I took the breaker bar out from under there because the camshaft is not trying to come with it. I'm going to double check. Everything seems to be going good. Alright. I'm going to gently pull the cover off. Sorry about the bad angle. we were actually able to save the gasket. That's actually pretty rare for these motors because a lot of the times they do like to rip it. There's not a whole lot going on inside of these motors, but it's pretty simple, but there's a few things in here. You got the crankshaft here, obviously, camshaft, low oil sensor. We got the main bearing cap. I mean, not main bearing, the rod bearing cap. And the piston, the governor assembly in there. So there's not really a whole lot. Alright, now you're going to want to grab your punch and a hammer, and you're going to take the punch and you're going to tap that little arm out of the block. Alright, we got it out. Alright, now we're gonna get a pair of needle nose pliers and we're gonna get that out. Oh, come on, there we go. Now we're on the flywheel side of the motor. Now you're gonna tap this shaft out right here, and that's the shaft the governor and the whole assembly is on. Alright, before I do that, I just remembered I need to get that washer out of the top of the motor right there. I almost forgot about it. Alright, got it knocked out. Okay, in total, in this governor system, there's 3 washers that you need to make sure you get out of this engine. We got the one that we already took out that was up there. We got one that's still in the governor shaft right there. And we got one right behind that governor gear we still got to get out. Come on. And that's the third one. Alright, now the hacksaw is going to come into play. On the shaft the governor gear rides on, there's this little circlip, and we're going to cut half of this off right against that circlip, and then we're going to put it back into the block, and that's what's going to plug the one hole. Alright, I actually gotta go back out to the garage so I can use a right angle grinder to cut this, because this is super hard to steel and a hacksaw is not gonna do it. Alright, we just got a cut. Now I'm on my way back up to the house. As you can see, I cut the governor shaft off right at that circlip, so when I put it in this way, there's no way that this shaft can fall into the motor. It can only come out this way. Cam. Alright, it's good. You don't want your camshaft to fall out when you're doing this. Alright, we got that hole plugged up. Alright, now after verifying your 3 washers out, go ahead and start putting the side cover back on. Oh! Holy shit. Almost lost her. When tightening these side covers, you want to go bolt by bolt all the way around. You can do it crisscross if you want, but it really doesn't matter when you're just threading it on just a little bit. You just want to go all the way around, make sure everything's seated before you start torquing it down with the torque wrench. These side cover bolts need to be torqued to 17 foot-pounds, which is about 204, 205 inch-pounds. And we're going to do it in 5-pound increments, 5 pounds, 10 pounds, and then the 17. Got to hold the motor down. Alright, the reason why I put the side cover on before plugging up the second hole on top of the motor is because I want to close the motor up just so I don't get any dirt in it at all. A lot of people are going to disagree with this, but I've done this with a lot of success. Just take a self-tapper and put a bunch of Loctite on it and run her down right in there. Alright, so now we got both holes plugged now. We got the one on the top of the motor where the governor arm was, and then we got the shaft where the governor gear spun on. Now we gotta go all the way out to the garage and tighten the flywheel up. Alright, there's a couple things I've done in this video that are not recommended, and this is definitely one of them. Okay, now we got the motor all assembled in a quick little time lapse there. This video's gotta be at least about an hour long, but like I said, this is a full how to do everything. She's a little dirty, but everything's there. Okay, pretty much the only thing left to do now is fabricate up the throttle linkage, and after that, that's where I'm going to end the video. Now we got to take this stock throttle linkage and we gotta cut it from about here all the way to here. So we got to cut this big fat piece out. Back out to the garage we go so I can use a cutoff wheel. Alright, now we got that part cut. We can go back up to the garage up at the house and put it back on. Okay, I got the throttle linkage shut up back on. The only thing left to do before this motor is completely runnable again and ready to put back on is put oil and gas in it. And if you're wondering why I got this piece of coat hanger right here, this is what you're going to use to fabricate your little throttle linkage. It's going to go from this arm to the carburetor. So that's the only thing left to make this thing runnable. I can't really tell you exactly how to bend this, so this is where I'm gonna end the video. I hope you guys enjoy it. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. If you get your stock, if you get your throttle linkage done and the rod is bent into shape, it should look something like this, and it'll work perfectly fine. So keep trying at it. You won't get it the first try, but just keep working on it and take your time and you'll get it right. So